house, and you can easily just search on Pinterest for the reference by simply dialing 3D house. Once you click search 3D house and search on it, you have variety of it, and I decided to start with this one since it will be our first attempt at creating a 3D house model. So to get this reference, just click on these three dots here and download images. And once you are done downloading, you click on the folder so you know exactly where your downloaded images are going to, right? So currently mine is in downloads and I have it as home.jpg. So open my Blender software. Remember, this is a screencast that tells you which particular side of the mouse I'm using, just in case I fail to mention it when explaining. Right. So the first thing I'll do is to split my screen in order for me to have my reference added. So take my cursor towards the end of this, and it turns to a double arrowed cursor. Right click on it and click on vertical split. Move it over here a bit, and I have two parts of my windows which are showing the same 3D viewport. So I come over here to change the editor type by clicking here. And I'm not using 3D viewport editor type. I'm going to be using the image editor type. Once again, and I have to get my reference in this part. Now, to get my reference, once again, it's two steps, right? You can choose whichever method is okay with you. So it's two methods. One is just to click on open here, and I go to where my download is and scroll down to home.jpg. This is home.jpg. Click on it and open image, and my reference shows here. Click on the zoom icon to zoom it to where I want to see it. If I want it closer, I can zoom in too. All right, either this method, or let me take it off by clicking on the X, going to where it is exactly on my file, left click on it, drag into the Blender file, Blender software, and drop it. So that way I also have my reference, all right? So start work on it. Now, if you look at the reference for the house, the most visible part of it is the cube or the rectangle that is standing, which means I don't need to delete my cube mesh. I can just start off by working with it. So to do that, I don't need to remove anything, but it's just start working based on what we've learned so far on the instruction, session, or whatever that will require me to create something similar to my reference, a little more beautiful than my reference. Okay, so the first thing is to toggle to the front view. So you can use your number pad 1, or just go to view and click on viewpoint and pick the front view, side view, or simply press the toggle key and bring out the option to pick which view you want. Okay, the first thing I'll do is to take this cube above this red line, which is going to form as the base. And to do that, I just do G of Z. Get it here. I want the base is smaller in height, so S of Z to make it smaller. And I'll bring it down with a G of Z. I'll pound a bit to be sure that the dimension works with me. If it doesn't, I can choose to increase it to a little bit wider, just to add my own taste to the design. All right. Now I've gotten this base, which is quite short and simple. The next thing is to get the house structure itself. And to do that, still on front view, I'm going to duplicate this cube rather than adding another cube. You can choose to still add another. I'm going to add, then mesh and pick a cube, or simply do Shift A and get the mesh. But I just don't want to go through the whole process. And to save myself repetitions work, since it's the same shape and I've barely altered anything on it, So Shift D to duplicate, G of Z to bring it out a little. And it's smaller in base than this, so I'll do S to scale. I think this side is okay for me. Right. Let me scale it up a little, so I'll create space for the step to the door. So I'll scale it back to the front view, G of Z to make sure it's on top. Okay, currently. Then next thing is to increase the height, since the height of the body is bigger. So S of Z, and to increase the height. Then G of Z to take it up a little. Perfect. And I think this is good enough. All right. So I've gotten this part of the house. What's remaining part now is the triangular aspect of the house. And to do that, I'll need to do an extrusion here so I can create the hat. So I have to go to edit mode. Either I come here and click on edit mode, or I simply press the tab on my keyboard and I'm in the edit mode. Once again, this part, this is called vector select. Then we have the edge select, then the face select. Okay. So currently we're just extruding the faces. So I'll click on face select, click on the particular face I want to extrude, back to front view, E of Z to extrude. And I've extruded. That's fine. The next thing is to create the triangle from this extrusion. This extrusion I've done here. And to do that, I'll have to choose my vector select because I want to join these vectors to become one, and do the same for the back. So to do that, I click on one of the vertices, shift and select the other vectors, click on M, which is to merge the two vertices together, and click on at center. So it's at center. Okay, I'll repeat the same process here. Click on this, shift click on this, M and to center. Right? So I've gotten my triangle, or the triangular face of my work. So front view, and since we are getting something close to our reference in terms of the form. All right. The next part is to get ceiling, or sorry, the roof. To get the roof in this case, which is this, which means I need this top part of my, go to click on face select, this part and this part of my house to create the roof. To do that, I click on the first face, shift and select the other face. So I have two faces selected. And I'm going to separate it from my house. Because if you notice from our reference, the roof came out. It's not the same size as the house itself. It has a little shift both in front and by the side. So which means I need this faces to be bigger than the existing face. So to do that, key to separate, and I clicked on separate by selection, which means I want to separate the only part I selected. All right. So I'll go back to object mode by clicking on tab, or you come here to change it. And once I click out, see it's separate. This part is separate from this part separate. Okay, so if I click on this, I can now scale it to suit my design. Okay, so to scale it, I'll just go to my front view. It's already selected if you look at it. So back to the front view, S to scale. You see this, S to scale, and I have this all scaled out. Front view to bring it down. Okay, which is this. Okay, so this is looking quite good. Okay. The next thing is to scale the sides. I'm going to bring this up a little. So it's not well above this to be sure the sides. Yeah, okay. So let's scale it a little bit to create that noticeable difference between it. Yeah, I think this is more than, yeah, this is very noticeable. Okay, so now if you notice too, for the roof, it has a thickness, right? It's not all flat or plain, which means that we need to add thickness to it. Now, one way to do that is by extruding. So go over to the object mode by clicking on tab or coming here to change it. Prefer to use the shortcut, which is tab, so try to get familiarized with it. It's much easier than coming over here for projects that can be more massive than this. So I'll click on the faces, shift and select the other face, and I want to extrude. So I'm going to click on extrusion or press letter E. All right. So I'm going to be on front view. I want to extrude on the Z axis, which is the height. I want it to be uniform. So just click on this and we have extruded to create it. All right. So we've done that and we've created the thickness. The only difference between this is when you want to give the thickness, the sides are all straight. That you can easily correct by just clicking on the vectors, go to select box, click on the vectors here, and G of X to move it that way or bring it down a bit. Okay, to suit this, right? But if you're okay with this is totally fine. Like I mentioned, this is just one way of getting the roof done, right? So I'll Control Z this and we do another part of the roofing. So go back to object mode. So to do that, we'll be using what is referred to as the modifier. Just as the name implies, a modifier is something that modifies, that changes or causes a little change in an existing thing, right? Or existing object or existing, actually anything. Just where we have modifiers, maybe a sentence, they have adjectives. Now, but in 3D, we have different types of modifiers and they're classified in different ways. In some version of 3D, when you click on it, the modifiers are all opened to you. They are not classified into different things. But for earlier versions of the current versions of 3D, especially for Blender, it is grouped. So that way you know what your modifier is going to do to your work. And you're not having the double mind on whether that's what they're going to achieve or not. Okay, so to do that, the modifiers is this spanner icon here over your properties editor browser. Just click on the spanner, and currently there's no modifier added here. I'm going to click on add modifier, and the modifier I want to add is referred to as the solidifier modifier, to add a little solid or make the plane look more solid or thicker than expected. Okay, so and for that it's classified under generate, and if you look over here there are a lot of modifiers and this is solidifier modifier. Now I'm adding it, notice no thickness is shown on it because I have not increased the thickness to it. So once I come over here and increase this value of the thickness, notice it's getting thicker than expected. Okay, so if I'm okay with the thickness here, just state it. This is the thickness I want. And if I click on even thickness, it means all around the thickness should be the same. No changes whatsoever. And if I'm okay with this, then we're done with this modifier. Just to come over here and close it in case we're going to have multiple modifiers on this. All right. Now our roof has a pattern, which is the lines on it. Okay, that we can also achieve in two ways, but I want to stick to just a particular one so it doesn't look too complex, okay, at this point in time. All right. So to do this, we have to go to the edit mode. right? And we're going to cause a split on this. And to cause a split, I'm going to introduce another part of our edit tools, which is the loop cuts. Okay, loop cuts help us to cut our meshes into different pieces, or to create what is referred to as a subdivision. The only difference between a loop cut and a subdivision is that a loop cut cuts across a particular axis, whether it's horizontal or it's vertical. But for subdivision, it does it in two ways, which is horizontal and vertical simultaneously at the same time. So let's try that out. So if I click on right click and I click on subdivide, it shares this box into two. Okay, I'll Control Z this. But if I click on a loop cut, you see I can either choose to cut it horizontally, I can choose to cut it straight on the vertical. All right. So now we're going to cut on the vertical. So I want to click on this and drag to the way I want the patterns to be. Now, once I do that, it gives me a pop-up down here to choose how many segments I want to cut it to. So I'm going to just click based on its different meshes we have. I'm going to move this little to GG to move. So I use G and G to move the vertices so it is uniform on the segment, and I think this is fine. But I want to create another one that will help me create that depression there. So I'll go to select and I'm going to click on the loop cut again to cut this, okay, around the particular part, and also increase, sorry, what I've done to cut of it. Okay, so I've gotten this part. So I'm going to do a loop cut again to create that crease. So I'll put one here. Okay, put another one here. Right, and put another one here. Okay, that will help me create these little depressions you're saying, or extrusions you're saying inwardly. So to do the extrusion, and I want to extrude just the faces inwardly and not the lines to be exact. So I'll go to face select and select those faces I want to work on with the select box. I'll just click on this face, sorry, the tiny face there, shift and select tiny face here. No, that's wrong. This face, this face, this face, this face. All right, so I'll click on this face. So I want to create the extrusion downwards. I have to see what I'm doing. So I want to be on the side that's the right view or the left view. But all the extrusion is going towards the Z-axis, which is the blue line. So I just need to either press E to extrude or EZ to extrude the blue line. Or I come here to pick on the extrusion 2, which is the first two after the E blocks. So EZ, and I'm moving this. I need to click on this. All right, so now the distortion that I moved to inwardly, so I'm going to correct this. And I'm going to do this again. Click on the extrusion icon and extrude along normals. So we need to click on this downwards. This is too much. Okay, I think this is quite small now. Going to flip it a little. Okay, I'm going to increase the offset a little. I think it went too inwardly. Yeah, I think this is a little bit fine now. Let me go back to object mode and see how it looks. Oh, the distortion is much, so Control Z. I'll Control C this and apply first the solidifier modifier so it doesn't solidify everything. So I've applied this. Now go back to object mode so we can only extrude along this side. So click, shift select, shift select, shift select, shift select, shift select this one, shift select this, shift select. Okay, so taking it inward a little now. Yeah, the session is normal simply because we have applied the solidifier modifier, so it's not being solidified for us. Go back to object mode. I have a similar depression as my reference. Okay, another thing we'll notice on the reference is we have a very curvy edge over here. It's not straight, it's curvy. So which means we have to add the bevel model. We have to use bevel to bevel the edges, right? But not quite, it's not much, just a little beveling. So edge select, so beveling just the edges. Click on this edge, shift click on this edge. I'm going to pick the beveling tool instead because you are beveling this time around. And just click on that red line and drag a little. Okay. So I'll increase the number of segments on the beveled edges just to make sure it's sharp, and yeah, we have the beveled edge. I'll do the same for the back editing mode. Shift select this and shift select this edge. Click on the yellow circle and drag the little. Then I'm going to increase the beveling just a bit to create that. All right. So I think this is good to go. Okay, so now we're done with part of the roof. We have another part of the roof that has to do with a cube standing on top before we go to the body of the house. Okay, now to do that, we need a cube mesh for this. So I'm going to go to the front view and add a cube to create that mesh. Okay, so again, to add meshes, shift A, and I have a mesh which is going to be a cube this time around. S to scale it up a bit, G of Z to bring it up. This is on the right, the left hand side of the house, so I'll just do G of Z to bring it here. S to scale it up a little. Let me scale it up again. S of Z to bring it down. G of Z. It's inside. Let me be sure it's at, okay, I think it's okay on this spot. I can choose to just shift it towards the y-axis a little. On this other side that has a wider band, right? So for this chimney, there's an opening on it, and we have a smaller circle, a wider circle, a wider cube on the top of it. All right, so to do this, I need to go to edit mode, click on select box, and we have to create something similar to this. Now to do that, extrusion also works. But this time around, I'll click on face select, click on the particular face I want to extrude. I'll just do E to extrude, and I'll right click to drop it off because I want to create a cube effect around here too, so I don't need the entire face. Right, so S to scale, that's to create a scale on it, and see this. Then E of Z to take it on little, recreate that chimney effect. Now to create the hole for our chimney, I need to insert this face. So either we'll come here to click on insert, just like the symbol here, and insert inside the face, or simply press letter I, which is I for insert. So once I click on this circle and move it a little, I've created a smaller square inside the chimney. All right, and I can now bring it inward to create that little hole you can see there. And to do that, E of Z to extrude on the Z axis, and I move down to where I want it to. So now we have a little hole for the pressure when we go to object. Okay, now we have this. Looking offline, fine. All right, up next is the body. That's the doors that we have, right? Such other things. So the first thing I will do in creating this is to introduce the loop cuts to the body. And that loop cut to enable me to create where I want the doors to stay. Okay, I'm going to get into the front view. I'll zoom this inwardly. Center. All right, to create this, I click on the particular mesh I want to work with and go to edit mode. Now, mind you, if I click on this mesh, only this mesh will be in edit mode, not the roof, not the chimney. They are all different meshes and not even the base of my house. Okay, so I'll click on the particular mesh I want to work with. Zoom this in. I'm going to introduce the loop cut here. All right, so click on loop cuts. I'm going to click on loop cut and I'm going to bring it here. So let me zoom this out so you can see the loop cut better. So the loop cut is going to be around here, not horizontally. So G of Z, just click on left click on the mouse to bring it to a comfortable spot. And I think this spot is comfortable enough. The next one is to create the door. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the loop cut vertically now for the door. So I'll click on this one. One side of the door is okay here. Click on this one. The other side of the door is fine here. And I'll click on this one here. Okay. To create this, and I want to create the windows too. So this one, I have the windows. I'll do the same thing on the side to create the two windows there. Just other parts. This and this. Cut here is okay. Then select box. Now I've divided my cube or my cube mesh into different segments that can help me achieve extruding the doors and the windows as the case may be. Okay, so let's get to work on it. So I'm going to click on the face select and let's start. So front view, let's start off with the door. Okay, beneath the door we have the door match. So I'm going to just click on this one. Let's extrude this first. And since this is the y-axis, which means I can extrude on the y-axis. So I'm going to change the extrusion now to a normal extrusion by clicking on the small arrow here and extrude region, not along the normals. So I've extruded this, just I'll click on the plus icon and drag out, which is on the y-axis, or simply E of Y to look at. Okay, I think Control C. Let me make it a little bit out. All right, I think this is fine enough. I already have the foot stump here. The next one is the door. So back to edit mode. Click on select box, and this is shift select other face, and that will give us our door. Okay, now I've gotten the door. Next thing is to extrude the little. So E of Y to extrude the door a little, which is done that. The next thing is to create the rim around this door, right? So to do the rim, I can choose to insert, right, and have a particular insertion. So on this, I to insert, and I've inserted to get the rims out, and this other part will be the door. Okay, you can choose to make it more realistic by extruding inwardly A of Y. So sorry. Let's pick this again, this, and shift select this. So E of Y to extrude a little bit inward. To create the rim effect that you have the frame, the frame of the door, it's outside and the door itself. Okay, now we're done with the door. The next thing is to create the windows. The same thing is applicable to the windows. Oh, I didn't create a window loop cut here. So let me do that for the front. I'll leave it for the sides. Okay, so I'll create this. So yeah, I think this is fine. This then face select. So this is our window. I'll create the window rim by extruding this a little bit outward. So E of Y to extrude. Need to reduce the offset here with the purple. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've done this. And the next thing is to insert the face. So I to insert just a little. Then I'm going to bring this inwardly again. E of Y. Okay, then to create the crosses we have inside, there are two ways to do that. First, you can choose to insert, which is I to insert the first again to create the one inside. Then the one outside, you can choose to subdivide. Okay, once I subdivide, divide this frame into two parts. Okay, so which means I have the all spread out, but I need to have a little thickness on it. So I can click on each of these faces to insert, but I need to insert individually. So if I do I to insert, they all insert together, which is not what I'm looking for. So I'll click on this first, right? I to insert and I to insert, inserted this, I to insert. So I'm going to control this to be sure of the values I used to insert. So it's not different. So I to insert, and this is 0.01. So just make it consistent and remove the other decimals. 0.01. I'll just 0.01. Now inserted that. Do the same thing here. I to insert just any value, since I'm already sure the value to use, 0.01. Okay, same thing here, I to insert 0.01. Here again, I to insert, I to insert, forgot I haven't clicked on it yet. Then come here, 0.0. Okay, so I've created this. Now for me not to keep on repeating the same process over and over again, I can choose to duplicate this particular window I did for the front view the other way. Okay, so by just selecting this particular one and shift and selecting it, but let's finish up with the windows for it. So the window also have, okay, we can skip that for now and create the little cube afterwards. So now let's take this particular window and replicate it on the other side without repeating the entire process. So I'm going to begin in front view first and select this entire window. Shift and unselect this one, and I have to go around to be sure some parts are not left out on my windows. into shift and select everything that has to do with windows here. Done that, then shift D to duplicate. So I've duplicated it. The G of X to bring this out. And I want to take this window to the side of what I'm working with. So let me put it first on this side, since I already mapped out where the window is going to be. So arrow Z to rotate this, then 90 along the Z axis, and G of X to bring it inward a little, so it's closer to my house. Right. Then G of Y to keep it in position to where the windows will be. I'm going to put it in front view to be sure that I'm exactly on the house and not moving. So G of X to bring it closer to the house. So I have my windows here. Done. Then Shift D again to bring it on this other side of the window. Shift D, then I'll click on it. G of Y to bring it this way. And we have this. Okay. Same thing applies again. Shift D. And I'm going to take this inwardly to the other side of the house. So G of X. To go this way, then I have it. Okay. But this is turned upside down, so I need to bring it by rotating on the Z axis again. R Z, since the complete rotation, that's 180. And doing that again, front view to be sure it is attached to the house. G of X to bring it inward, and we have this already. So Shift D to take it to the Y axis, G of Y, bring it this way. I go to object mode and I have my windows on both sides. Okay, so just a few things left for us to do. Circular windows surface and the base match before we start with the materials. Okay, so front view again. To get this, I'm going to bring in a cylinder or a circle, any of them could work. I'll choose the cylinder to work with it. So that way I just have to subdivide with it just like that. So Shift A, mesh and cylinder. Or simply I can just go here and click on add mesh and cylinder. Same process, same position, I choose to use the shortcut. So S to scale, I have to scale this very well. G of Z to bring it up a bit. Okay. Then we're going to rotate this. I'll bring it out first. G of Y. To bring this out. I'm rotating on the X axis. So RX, then 90 into degrees. I'm going to reduce the length along the Y axis, X of Y, just to make it a little bit not having so many faces. So G of Y to take it over. So with this, I already have this fill. The only difference is the insertion, which will still repeat again. So front view, I'm going to zoom this a little so you can see it properly. Tab to go to edit mode. Click only on this particular face you want to create this insertion. Then I to insert and have the insertion. Awesome. The same process, right click to subdivide. Okay, and tab mode. Click on this. Oh, okay. So I think my subdivisions has done this. So I've gotten this part. So I'm going to extrude this out. And to do that, E of Y to extrude. Okay, to subdivided the surfaces one. All right, and this has extruded this part out. So I have this glassy part just the cube to work on this. Okay. Front view, and we introduce the cubes we want to use for that. Sorry about that. Now the last phase is just to get the cube we're going to be working with to just demarcate this and scale. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use the same cube here. Shift D, just to scale it to be smaller. So G of C to bring it up a little. S of Y to reduce the length, sense of the Y axis. X of C, S of the C axis. S of X for the X axis. So G of Y to bring it out. Front view, G of Z to bring it to where the cube is. X of Z to bring it inwardly a little. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in to be sure of getting feel of what I'm looking for. X of Z to maintain the height we used earlier. I'm going to bring it out, which is V of Y. So it stays inwardly. X of Y again to make it smaller, the Y axis. G of Y to bring it out. Okay. And the rest of X to make it bigger a little. Yeah, and I have this. So front view, going to duplicate this again, Shift D. Going to rotate this around 90 degrees to have that cross fill. So arrow of Y to rotate 90 at 90. I have this. Okay, so for the case of the flower vase, we won't be doing it now. We'll be doing that when we are in when we are working with sculpting. That we'll be doing that. So now just focus on modeling and structure. Okay, so the next thing is to add a little bit of color in this. So I'll go to the material view so you can see the material view. So currently it's in the default material view state, which is all white, and you need to add a little flare to it to make it looking beautiful. So first, I'll click on the house itself, click on the material folder, which is the material 2, which is the sphere that's here. Click on the material tools. And by default, the default material is just white. Okay, so this is all whitish, and I'm going to leave that a little bit for now and just work on this. Now, the house itself has a small color here, which is the ash color. I'll go to the tab word, and the ash color is going to affect just this part of the building, so to say. So to do that, I'll just have to click on it around. So this, and Alt select this, and I've selected everything around. So Alt select helps us to pick, that's the Alt key and the select. Helps us to select round a particular loop. A loop is like a circle of event. So round this particular cube to form like a circle, as much as taking the cube shape. And I want to create this other material. So I come here and click on the plus icon to create a material, then new materials. So I can choose to rename this. I can call this gray. So I know that this material I'm creating is for the gray part of the design. Now let's change it to a gray color. I just going to, since this is white, and white is a version of gray. So I think this is gray enough. Done that, then I just click on assign. So what that did is to turn this entire color to gray surface. So if you go to tab, you see we have a gray icon. And as you have selected this, you can still come here and change how we want it to look. I think this is looking better. The green equivalent. Okay, the next thing is our door. Our door is yellowish in color. So I'll click on the plus icon, new. I'll call this yellow. Click on the color and select this. So this is yellow. We'll create another color, which is the blue. I'll call this blue. Okay, so I've created blue. So I click on tab, and now let's choose some. Click on this surface is yellow. Yellow. Click here, yellow, then assign. So that part is yellow now. So the other side is this other face. So I'm going to click on this, or select this one. I want it to be on this particular, sorry, this particular part. So here is blue, sign, and it's getting blue now. So I'm going to zoom in to pick on one of the face of this, or select the other face. I'm going to click on it twice. So I select the right blue, click on blue and assign. So I think we've assigned the blue all-rounder. So let's do the same thing here for this blue side. First is Alt select this blue, assign, and Alt select this. Okay, blue, assign. Okay, the inside one, I think I haven't done that for the dot too. Inside one here, Alt select. Okay, blue and assign. Do the same thing here. Box, Alt select, blue and assign. Okay, so I have this. Okay, it's looking pretty nice. So let's continue. Next is the yellow, inward yellow. So again, click on this, Alt select. Okay. Alt and select this. Okay, so let me just shift and pick, taking too much time. So since my yellow is much, I'll just pick them all at the same time. Let's shift, select, shift and select, shift and select, shift and select, shift, select, shift and select. Then now click on yellow and assign. So I have the yellow for this one. Do the same for the other side of the door, the window side. So back edit mode. So I'll pick the yellow first in this case. The shift and select, shift and select, shift and select. Okay. Then shift and select. Then yellow and sign. Turn that to this. And here, Alt select, blue and assign. Let's select blue and assign. Alt and select this. Blue and assign. Alt select this. Blue and assign. Okay, do that to the other side. Still going to focus on the blue now. So, okay. Blue and assign. Alt select blue and assign. Blue and assign. Let's blue and assign. Okay, we'll do that for the yellow part of this. Okay, I've not done for the interior. Okay, so let me zoom this in a bit to ensure I pick everything. I'm not coming back to doing a particular place. Okay. And assign. All right, so we're done with the doors and windows partially. So the remaining parts, okay, I've not clicked on the yellow part. So now these are different meshes, and the same thing also applies to this. So for this, it's taking the color of the default material, which is the white. But this one is taking yellow, so I'm going to go and click on yellow. This one too, come over here to change the color to yellow. Now, once, if you notice something, once you've created a particular color, it's saved in the software, right? So you just need to come pick the color. So for this one is blue, so just come here. Rather than default, I pick on blue. So and this one is the default, so I'll leave it the way it is. Okay. So finally we are done with this. The only difference, the only thing that's not here is window, which is the glass material. So I go to material and I'm going to click on plus, then a new material. Now for a glass material, the difference is the same structure as the other material. The only difference here is the roughness value changes, and the roughness and how metallic and rough surface is determines how glass it is. So I'm going to reduce the roughness a little close to 0, then increase the metallic property for this one. And once we choose the surface, we see how reflective or how this is this. I'm going to name this as glass for the windows. Set, so let's zoom in and pick a particular surface from the window. We tab view, and this is the click on this shift to select this. So go to class and assign. Now, it's not showing anything visible here, but when you go towards this, you notice that it's glass. Okay, it has its reflective surface. Right, so to show you that it's different from this. Now, if I go there and reduce it to 0 to 10, notice how glassy it is. Or I go change the color here to black or something and move around it. See how reflective it shows that this is a window surface. So I'm going to apply this to all surface. The ones I've chosen before, just the small square boxes. And glass and a sun. Okay. So my house is already having a reflective fossil-like surface. Okay. Now, if you want it more smooth, just right click and shade smooth. So with this, I think we're done with the house. Oh, I haven't clicked on this and create the gray effect. Ah, that's so that's with the house. Okay, I think we have a little yellowish for this, but the house. So let's create another new material. Don't know. Okay, something like a pink color for that. The reference didn't specify, so we can choose to add our own flair to it. And with that, we are through with our house. The assignment to be trying to recreate this. You can add your own style to it. Once we add light and rendering to looking exactly like this, and that's the way we get to the light and rendering part. So I'm looking forward to seeing your work. Okay.